Where is it? Kenya is a country in Africa that lies along the equator, midway between the North Pole and the South Pole. Because it's close to the equator, the temperature doesn't change much with the seasons. Some seasons have more rain than others, though, and the mountains are cooler than the lowlands. Kenya borders 5 other countries: Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The southeastern edge of Kenya is on the Indian Ocean. The capital city of Kenya is Nairobi. It began as a simple railway station but has grown into a large city of more than 3 million people. Nairobi is the center of industry in Kenya, where raw materials are collected and made into products in factories. Nairobi's factories make goods such as clothing and furniture, along with processed foods such as bread and cornmeal. Because of Nairobi's location near East African farmlands, crops used as raw materials do not have to travel far to the food processing factories. Nairobi National Park, a large game reserve, is located just a few kilometers outside the capital. Visitors to the park can see lions, giraffes, and other mammals in addition to reptiles and birds. Kenya has many hotels for tourists who visit the country, but one hotel very close to Nairobi is a little different. At Giraffe Manor, guests can eat breakfast and dinner next to giraffes. The area around the hotel is a sanctuary for a rare species of this long-necked animal. People. More than 45 million people live in Kenya, and the population includes more than 30 African tribes. Almost all Kenyans have African ancestors and speak the language of their tribe. A very small number of people have ancestors from Europe, Asia, or the Middle East. Almost all Kenyans speak one or both of the national languages, English and Swahili. Many Kenyans enjoy watching and playing football, which is also called soccer. Many famous runners have come from Kenya. Kenyan runners have competed in international races and have won gold medals at the Olympic Games. Some Kenyans also play bao, a game with a wooden board that has cups for holding seeds or stones. While more and more Kenyans are moving to cities, most Kenyans still live in the countryside, where they farm to make a living. They grow food to feed their families and grow other crops to sell, such as tea, coffee, corn, sweet potatoes, and wheat. Say it with a kanga. Cotton is grown in Kenya and is used to make kangas, a type of large, colorful cloth. Women wear kangas as shawls, headscarves, and skirts. A woman might also use a kanga to carry her child. Many kangas have a proverb or saying on them, such as, "He who digs a well gets himself inside." Land. The western part of Kenya contains highlands that are divided by the Great Rift Valley. This valley is a 6,437-kilometer, 4,000-mile crack in Earth's crust. It is about 50 to 130 kilometers, 30 to 80 miles wide, and its floor contains lakes, volcanoes, and deserts. The walls of the valley are cliffs called escarpments that rise as high as 2,700 meters, 9,000 feet above the floor. The highlands are one of 2 areas that receive enough rain for farming, so most of Kenya's people live there. Mount Kenya in the highlands is the highest mountain in the country. Kenya's coastal lowlands also receive enough rain for farming. White sand beaches and mangrove forests line the coast. Mombasa, an important port for East Africa, sits in a natural harbor. Farmers grow coconuts and cashews in this area of the country. Kenya has desert areas in the north, where a few tribes herd sheep and goats. At the western edge of the deserts is Lake Turkana, where fossils of the earliest humans have been discovered. Kenya is famous for its savanna, found in the areas west and east of the highlands. In the grasslands of the savanna, large herds of wildebeests, zebras, gazelles, and other animals graze. Grasses grow as tall as 1.5 meters, 5 feet. Thorny, flat-topped acacia trees dot the landscape. History. While some of the earliest humans left the region that is now Kenya to settle in other areas, those who remained did not interact much with the rest of the world until traders came from China, India, and the Middle East. In the late 1400s, people from Europe arrived in Kenya. In 1920, Kenya became a colony of the British Empire. The British gave much of the land in Kenya to white people from Great Britain and South Africa, which made native Kenyans angry. In 1952, Kenyans began to push for freedom from the British. By 1963, the country was free from British rule. For a few decades, the president of Kenya had a great deal of power, and there was only one political party. Many Kenyans wanted to have more of a voice in how the country was run. Kenya passed a new constitution in 2010 that gave the president less power and the people more power. Animals. Kenya is famous for its wildlife, and some of its animals are very rare. To protect them, Kenya has set aside more than 50 parks and reserves. Every year, millions of tourists go on safari to see animals such as rhinoceroses, lions, leopards, zebras, hippos, gazelles, and elephants. 2 kinds of elephants live in Kenya. The forest elephant lives in the highland rainforests, while the savanna elephant lives in many environments, including deserts. Kenya also has 2 kinds of rhinoceroses. They are called the white rhino and the black rhino, but both are actually gray. The white rhino is larger and has a square lip. Rhinos do not see well, but they have keen senses of hearing and smell. Even though they are very heavy, about 3,600 kilograms, 8,000 pounds, they can run as fast as 45 kilometers, 28 miles per hour. Zebras and other grazing animals fill the Kenyan savanna. One of the most amazing sights in all of Africa is the migration of wildebeests and zebras. Every year, about 1.5 million wildebeests and 300,000 zebras travel over 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 miles, from Tanzania's Serengeti Plain to Kenya's savanna to find food and water. The trip is difficult and dangerous. About 250,000 wildebeests don't survive. Along the way, lions, leopards, cheetahs, hyenas, and wild dogs follow the herds, hunting for easy prey. One of the most dangerous parts of the migration is crossing the Mara River. Rivers, such as the Mara, are also home to hippopotamuses. These animals may look harmless, but they actually cause more human deaths in Africa than lions do. They are aggressive, territorial animals whose huge teeth make them deadly. Hippos stay in the water most of the time, but at night they emerge to feed on grass and other plants. Sometimes they eat crops, which causes conflict between the hippos and people. On Lake Nakuru in the Great Rift Valley, pink flamingos gather by the millions. These wading birds stick their heads into the water to feed on small plants and animals. Scientists are not sure why they often stand on one leg. 2 of the most dangerous animals in Kenya are very small. The tsetse fly and the mosquito infest about 1/3 of the country. These insects carry the diseases of sleeping sickness and malaria. Both diseases make people very sick. Sleeping sickness gets its name from one of its symptoms. Infected people have trouble staying awake due to extreme fatigue. Conclusion: Kenya is famous for its savanna and the animals that live there. Many of Kenya's animals are found nowhere else. Yet the country is much more than a savanna. The cliffs of the Great Rift Valley tower over the land. Its tribes have many different customs. Its capital city is the center of industry for East Africa. From Mombasa, African goods are sent to places all over the world. Kenya is one of Earth's most amazing countries. Kenya. Population: 52,573,973. Land: 569,140 square kilometers, 219,746 square miles. Capital city: Nairobi. Primary languages: Swahili, English. Primary religion: Christianity. Currency: Kenyan shilling.